Hey, welcome back everyone. It's Clint Coons here. And in this video, we're going to be talking about putting together a joint venture with someone else. All right, let's get started. Okay, so here's the deal. If you're going to invest with someone else to take a deal down, these are typically going to be larger deals. Now, it could be single family homes, although I don't see a lot of people doing that unless it's within the family. Many times what I come across is, commercial property, multifamily property, a fourplex, something like that, where two investors are coming together and trying to figure out the best way to structure it. Now, I've got a few videos on my channel that discuss joint ventures and how to create a joint venture, and I discuss the use of a limited liability company. By way of refresher, let me just show you what I'm talking about. Let's assume that there's this property here, and we're going to buy this fourplex, and there's two investors involved. So I'm right here, and here's my partner Toby over here, and we want to buy this fourplex, and we're going to own it 50-50. So how do we go about structuring that? Well, typically what we're going to do, if you go traditional joint venture route with an LLC, is you'll create a limited liability company right here for this asset. And then that LLC that you set up, this is typically referred to as a joint venture limited liability company. It's going to be a JV LLC. It's going to describe how the property is being handled, management, who gets paid, what the requirements are from the individual investors, what they have to do, that is. What happens if we run short on cash, or you're required to contribute money to the LLC to say we have to re-roof the house, things like that. You agree to sign on mortgages. So this joint venture LLC is going to lay out all of the requirements of the members to participate in it. And that's, of course, what you would negotiate. Now, coming into this joint venture LLC, you have two ways to own it, of course. You can own it directly in your own name. So let's assume that it was a 50-50 deal. I own 50%, my partner Toby owns 50%, and so individually we're members in that company. Now, I see a lot of people do this, and I think it's a mistake. It's a lawsuit in the wings. It's a problem that's going to rear its ugly head potentially in the future. Because when you own this joint venture directly with someone else, do you know who you're really partnering with? No, it's not just Toby. It's the spouse as well that you're getting involved with. And maybe Toby has a girlfriend over here on the side. Who knows? All right, see, this can happen. And so now you don't know who the heck you're involved with because you don't know what's going on in his personal life. But those issues could become your issues when you have him directly participating. Let's say spouse finds out about this person over here. Spouse then wants to do scorched earth on Toby. Scorched earth now comes up and affects your limited liability company. So what I prefer to do when I'm working with investors, I recommend that rather than own that directly in your own names, give yourself a little buffer here, all right? Keep the individuals out of it. Have each individual create their own LLC down here, like this. And then you come in with the LLCs on a 50-50 basis. So now, any problems that we have over on this side stay with this company, and they're not affecting this company up here. So it would be business as usual. And there's many other reasons why we like to do this structure as well. Now, here's the inherent drawback to this type of structuring if you're setting up a JV LLC for a quad or a multifamily, is that when it comes to selling the property, all right, what are you going to do? Well, you may think, well, it's simple, Clint. I'm just going to sell it out of the limited liability company. Yeah, obviously that's what you're going to do. But what I'm thinking more on the lines of is, what are you and your partner going to do? I mean, what are your tax planning ideas? Maybe when we sell this property, it's going to generate for us $500,000 in gain, which means that I get $250 as a 50% owner, and Toby gets $250 as a 50% owner. But the difference is that Toby wants his $250,000 because he wants to put as a down payment on a new personal residence, or he wants to go out and buy a fancy car or something like that. So he wants his cash. Whereas I'm not so concerned with that. I don't want that money because if I take that money, then I have to pay tax on it. So what I want to do is engage in a 1031 exchange. So I want to roll it over into this tax deferred exchange into a different investment property. In this scenario, that's not going to happen because I need to get Toby to agree to engage in the 1031 because the 1031 is going to happen up here at the LLC level. And so if both members don't agree, then it's dead in the water. And so I'll be forced to pay tax. So how do we solve that issue? Well, the way to solve the issue then is to not set up a joint venture LLC like I just showed you right here. Instead, what you're going to want to do is come into that property as follows. So you create here's the property, the quad. Each of you, again, you have your own LLC set up. This is imperative. Each investor has to have their own LLC. Again, I don't want individuals owning this in the scenario I'm about to describe to you because it's going to compound your potential issues even more in the future. And I gave you an example of that. So now we're going to buy this property together with our LLCs and we're going to own it 50-50. So this is my portion. And it's going to be held as tenants in common. This is called a TIC agreement. All right, maybe you've heard this before and you weren't sure what it referred to. What it means is that both of these companies are going to own that property together. So on the deed, it's going to state, Clint's LLC and Toby's LLC as tenants in common. In fact, it'll even state the interest that I hold. Clint's LLC as to a 50% interest and Toby's LLC as to a 50% interest as tenants in common. So both LLCs go on title to the property. So essentially the property is held by two limited liability companies at the same time. Now, when you set this up in this manner, you do have to file or prepare what is called this TIC, Tenant in Common Agreement. What the Tenant in Common Agreement is, it's a document that you set up and it outlines out what's going to happen with the property, who's responsible for X, Y, and Z, how the rents are going to be collected, how they're going to be dispersed when the property's sold, things like that, when the property can be sold. So let's assume that in this deal, you want to make sure that the property can't be sold for a minimum of 5 years. So you agree that it's not going to be sold for 5 years. You put that into the agreement and the agreement gets recorded. So it's going to be recorded against the property so people know that this property is subject to a tenant in common agreement. So, my Toby couldn't go out there and try to sell his interest. In fact, you can restrict that. You can't sell your interest. Now, the benefit that we're going for with the TIC is that it's going to allow us in the future to be in complete control of our own tax situation. Because when the property is later sold, then if Toby needs his $250,000, he'll be able to take his $250K. But on the other hand, if I don't want that $250 because I want to engage in a 1031 exchange, my TIC interest will be eligible. So this LLC will be eligible for a 1031 on that $250,000 in gain. So I can have my LLC go out and buy another property, not have to pay any tax. Toby can take his $250 and do whatever the heck he wants with it. The idea is we set ourselves up at the outset, the beginning, so we can accomplish our tax goals at the end. Now, in the first example, there's another way. It's called a drop and swap. It's a little more complicated to make that work out, and it can create some issues for individuals. So if you're investing with someone else, I think you plan that you are going to sell the property at some point in time, consider using the tenant in common relationship. You still have the same asset protection. You just have to make sure you put it together in the way I just described. Hey guys, you liked the video? Give me some likes and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Take care.